Good starting linebackers are great for your defense, especially at the second level. Fred Warner, Bobby Wagner, the list goes on. Which 2024 linebackers bring that type of playmaking ability? We'll tell you next on the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Locked On family? Let's get locked in. Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson, always on the ones and twos. You can find and follow me on Twitter at DP_NFL. I'm a national scout over with the Draft Network, as well as the host of the Locked On Clemson podcast. Guys, thank y'all for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every single day, man. Being our family, but as always, our every single day as we appreciate and we love y'all. But I can't do anything. I can't talk rings, championship, winning without a guy who has won at the highest of levels. My guy, Keith Sanchez, Mr. LSU. You can find him on Twitter at The Talent Code. Keith, talk to him, baby.
What's up, Locked On family? Let's get locked in. This is Keith Sanchez, senior draft analyst with the Draft Network, man. We're talking championship rings and things. Championship 2019 with those LSU Fighting Tigers, man. But you know why we're here? Myself, Damian Parsons, your dynamic duo covering everything NFL draft content. We're here to bring you championship level content surrounding the NFL draft 24/7, 365. And listen, man, we're still in the scouting notebook, right? But we're close to wrapping it up. We have 3 positions left, and we're going to finish this thing out this week, right? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So today, man, we're talking about those linebackers, right? And we've talked about on this podcast before. Linebackers, somewhat of an underrated position, but we did see one go, in the top 25, the Lions winning and drafted one in Jack Campbell. So it's a must that you cover these guys, right? Because you have no idea how a team values them, right? Where a team values them. So we're going to get this thing started, DP, with just a simple conversation of who's the best linebacker in this 2024 NFL draft class that has the potential to be a first-round prospect?
Man, I think, Keith, that question is kind of twofold because, as we know, playing, you got your middle linebackers, you got your outside, right? So if you're looking for the best middle linebacker, that's going to be Jeremiah Trotter Jr. over at the Clemson, University of Clemson. The bloodlines playing the same position as his father. You see high instincts, ball tracking, really polished at that position, can blitz. And I talked about him and his teammate, Barrett Carter, remind me a lot of, not size-wise, I think is a little different because both of them are around 6'2", 225, 230, 235, somewhere in that range. They remind me a little bit of how Georgia used Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker at times. You know what I mean? The cross-dog blitzes, mugging the A-gaps and stuff like that. But Quay Walker was like 6'4", like 235, 240. So he's bigger than all these guys. But Nakobe Dean is in that same kind of height range. But Jeremiah Trotter, man, understands how to slip and play off of blocks and read blocking concepts. And he's the man. Like we talk about the guy that has the green dot, right? For a defense. He's the one who calls the plays a lot of times when you're watching film, making the checks and the calls and communicating to everybody else. And he's the leader of that defense, man, especially that defensive front seven. Just an outstanding player. And I think Jordan Reed had him as his, when we did the mock draft Monday, about two Mondays ago. Jordan Reed had him as the only linebacker in his 2024 early mock draft. And I'm not surprised by that, right? But I will say this is that Barrett Carter is not far behind. Like, for me, Barrett Carter is if you remember Christian Harris from Alabama when he came out, right? Yep. Explosive, dynamic, heavy hitter, all that good stuff, right? This is, to me, Barrett Carter is Christian Harris with much better instincts.
Yeah.
And football IQ. Like, similar with Jeremiah Trotter. Jeremiah Trotter is really good in coverage. The movement skills for Barrett Carter in coverage, outstanding. Guy that can flip his hips on the dime, can turn and swivel and stay in phase, especially dropping off. I can't remember which game it was, but he picked off a quarterback. He's like dropping. He's kind of dropping out into kind of like that kind of curl of flats, type of area, but he reads the route concepts that's around him. He reads the quarterback, flips his hips, and travels with the receiver as he's trying to run an end breaker, and he follows him and picks the ball off with ease. So good ball skills. But another guy that's really in terms of mentally, I think he's also polished. And for him to be, and I'm gonna say this, Barrett Carter Jr. to me is better than Trenton Simpson. You know what I mean? As a
So
pure linebacker.
DP, that's funny because I just Googled Trenton Simpson because I was trying, like, that's what I was doing while you were talking, because I was trying to figure out what round was Trenton Simpson drafted in, right? I couldn't
Second, I
remember. I
think,
knew
right? Was it second or third?
third round. He went third
Third.
round to the Baltimore Ravens, and we talked about that being a potential Patrick Queen replacement, right? Like, that's somebody who needs to be on alert, and we'll get into that when we get into our training camp battles. That's a prelude right there for some of the hot content that is coming your way. But DP, keeping that conversation going with Trent Simpson and Barrett Carter, I agree. But this is what I was interested to see, right? Because this Clemson defense, right? They do a lot of interesting things with those two guys. But we know in the past, right, some of what they've done with Trenton Simpson. Remember, he kind of played more in a nickel slot. Then they kicked him inside. I'm interested to see what they do with Barrett Carter. Does his role change any? Because when you really look at it, right, and you look at this Clemson defense, you're looking at Trenton Simpson, extremely athletic, right, can run with slot wide receivers. Then you had Jeremiah Trotter in the middle, and then you had Barrett Carter, right? Like that's a for a linebacker core, right, especially in college, that's somewhat of an embarrassment of riches. Like when you're able to have those three guys playing linebacker for you. Some teams are lucky just to have one. They had three guys out there, so you can still run three linebackers on the field and still play the run, and then also play some, a base nickel type ish defense. So I'm just interested to see where Barrett Carter goes. As far as your synopsis of the two, I wrapped up both of them this morning, DP. I agree with you. I like Jeremiah Trotter. I like what he does. So if I'm being critical of him, I think sometimes he misjudges fighting over blocks or slipping under them. That's the biggest thing when I see Jeremiah Trotter. But I'll tell you this: when he lines it up right, he got some knockback. Like he's going to hit you. Like he has some power, some knockback in him. So I think there's a fairly fun situation. And like we talked about, Jack Campbell went number one. He went in the first round last year. Jeremiah Trotter appears to be more athletic. Jack Campbell was a much bigger guy, but Jeremiah Trotter appears to be more athletic. So if you're asking me, traditional linebacker, which I think is hard to find just with these spread teams, and it affects defensive players, and I think linebackers, especially the linebacker position, because we either want to put safeties on the field at linebackers, or we want the most athletic linebackers, but we disregard the ability to play the run, right? And then we get these guys in the NFL, then they have to play the run, and then we realize they can't play the run on a la like Kenneth Murray and a couple of these other Isaiah Simmons and Zaven Collins, like they struggle at doing that because of that. But I think Jeremiah Trotter is a traditional but a good blend of solid athleticism, and he can play the run. I'm just looking for him to improve as far as just blocks. But you talk about bloodlines, his daddy being Jeremiah Trotter, right? Like he's going to, I believe that he's going to figure that part out.
No, I agree, man. And just having those two dudes on the same team, and just watching, like, even with Barrett Carter, you talk about Jeremiah Trotter packing the punch. Like, for me, one thing I always look for, like, undersized linebackers, just like any position, can you play bigger than your size? And Barrett Carter, both of those guys, they're both technically undersized because they're not 235, 240, 6'2", 6'3". They're more around that 6 foot, 6'1", 225 to 230 range. But I will say this, if they and I said this before, if you love Jack Campbell, you're gonna like go to like Tommy Eichenberg. Eichenberg, to me, is very similar to Jack Campbell.
Well, with DP, don't you giving up the sauce, baby, giving up the sauce. So listen, much like yesterday, right? With DP went ahead with the picks, pick 21, pick 21, 22, 23, 24, trying to jump ahead into our tier 2 linebackers. So we're going to jump to our next segment with the tier 2 linebacker, so DP can get into Ohio State's linebacker, Tommy Eichenberg, because we both like him, right? And now it's just time to discuss just how we view him and in what light do we see him on the next level in the NFL, and then also as a draft prospect.
Take your first swing at betting on Major League Baseball with FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets up to $200. You heard me correct, up to $200. That's right. Just bet $20, guys. 20 bucks, 20 big ones, and you'll land $200 in bonus bets back. And the kicker is, it doesn't matter if you win or lose. That's $200 that you can spend betting on things on everything from the money line to the over under to who you believe will hit the very first home run in that contest. All of this on an app that is safe, secure, and super easy to use. Guys, plus when you win, you get paid instantly. There's nothing better than getting your money right away. There's no better place to bet on all the Major League Baseball action than FanDuel, which is America's #1 sports book. So all you need to do is sign up today and visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/locked-on. FanDuel is the official partner of Major League Baseball. Tommy Eichenberg, linebacker from Ohio State. And I said it in the first segment. I think I said it back in the beginning of the summer. If you like Jack Campbell, you are going to love Tommy Eichenberg. Another 6'3", 6'4", that kind of almost look like a throwback linebacker, right? Like the Brian Urlachers, those type of throwbacks, those big body, long arm guys that will actually catch you off guard with their ability to track the ball quickly, cut off access points for the running back in the run lane. And one thing I always look at with linebackers, and I just from what I was taught growing up, was you never, when it's outside run, a perimeter run, you keep your hips, your shoulder square, you scrape, and you don't give up cutback lanes. You know what I mean? And Tommy Eichenberg does that well. And you talk about cover ground as he's scraping laterally. Good lateral movement, but a guy that eye discipline is so good with him because he's able to not only diagnose run versus pass, diagnose it quickly, but then, okay, you want to bounce it outside? Cool. I'm going to be able to cover ground, close off and wall that off and make legitimate secure tackles. And he's physical. There's a play against Wisconsin. And Big Braylon Allen, 6'3", 245-pound running back that they have for Wisconsin. And don't get me wrong, Braylon Allen, it was like a 3rd and 1 type situation or 3rd and inches, and he got the first down. But Tommy Eichenberg, he went head up to him, head on in the alley. He went ahead and find the running lane, closed it off, and made the hit. And it just was the fact that, he kind of went a little bit too low. If he had hit him a little bit higher, he might have been able to kind of stonewall him a little bit. But it was a fun battle between those two guys. And then you see some of the coverage ability. So I was just sitting there watching him, like, he looks a lot like Jack Campbell. Like, he looks so much like Jack Campbell. He's just like Jack Campbell playing for Iowa. He's playing for Ohio State. And it's time that we start paying more attention to these linebackers that are in the Big Ten. I mean, they may not run the 4.4s like the Devin Whites and Devin Bushes that has come out in recent years, but these guys can play, Keith.
Yeah, I agree. So when I watched Eichenberg, this was the thing I was looking at, right? Because not so much of you observing trends with the NFL, but like I said, Jack Campbell going in the first round, you're trying to figure out, was that just a Detroit line thing, or was that the the entire I guess NFL, right? Were they hired to where the Lions felt like they had to go and grab Jack Campbell because he wasn't going to be there again when they picked in the 2nd round or 3rd round or whatever. And so watching him, like you said, I like the comp, but just watching the skill set, right? I always try to watch linebackers because I always say the most underrated part of them is making tackles close to the line of scrimmage, right? Like, do you key and diagnose and you're able to attack the line of scrimmage and make tackles close to the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage? And then that lets me know if you're doing that, DP, that means that you have high IQ, right? You're able to I understand what play this is, right? I understand what's going on and I can play downhill. So I don't mind traditional linebackers, right? If you're telling me this guy is a traditional Mike linebacker, I'm A-okay with that because there's a role for that in a defense, right? If you're telling me he's a C-gap to C-gap guy, I'm fine with that because I've seen other linebackers, right, that can run sideline to sideline, but that sideline to sideline stays on a plus side of the offense, right? Meaning that you don't make the tackle till it's 6-7 yards down the field because you don't make any progress towards the line of scrimmage, right? Like you're not taking your proper read steps, you're not keening diagnosing, and you're not triggering. So guys like Tommy Eichenberg, I appreciate it, right? Like his physicality that he played with, his ability to shed. Now, is this a guy that you're gonna line up one-on-one with all the slot wide receivers? No, but there's a role for, hey, I have a traditional Mike linebacker. Now you can find a will, right? Or you can walk down a strong safety into the box and let him play your will backer so he can match up with those backs out of the backfields and things like that. So I agree, DP, that I liked Tommy Eichenberg, but there's one name that I want to bring up too, just from a conversational point, and that was, we kind of texted about it a little yesterday, but Smael Mondon, right? Because he's almost the polar opposite of Tommy Eichenberg, right? Like he's what, 6'1",
220.
215, yeah, like somewhere around
Mhm.
there. Now the question is this, DP, because I didn't think his instincts were horrible, right? I didn't think they were bad.
No.
He just appeared to be undersized at times. So is there a bigger role for him? Do you feel like playing on a perimeter, right? Like it is the ceiling, or I don't even say the ceiling, right? But can he reach the same caliber of a guy like a Barrett Carter if he's just not playing in the middle anymore? Like do you see that? Or you still think he's just more of a matchup based linebacker? Because this is a guy that will be talked a lot about because he is playing Georgia. He is playing the middle linebacker position at Georgia.
Yeah, for me, it was such a, because I texted you last night. I was watching him, and I'm like, man, this kid is small.
Yeah.
I was like, he's one thing I wrote it down was like he's got long arms, he's lean everywhere, top to bottom. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like his lower half is lean, his upper body's lean. He's got a long torso, and that's lean as well. So it's like the one thing that struggles is like, okay, he plays with good tempo, with good motor and aggression, but he's just not overly powerful. He's not overly strong. He does try to shoot gaps and blitz and attack the line of scrimmage. Like I think it was the Tennessee game. Their center was able, but he was treating him like a rag doll at times, just getting his hands on him and just like engulfing him
It
and
was,
controlling him.
yeah, I noticed that, and it was more so not that you afraid to put him in a box from a keen and diagnosing plays.
Mm-mm.
It was more so of once offensive linemen got their hands on him, I
It was a
just
wrap.
don't know if he's big enough or strong enough to shed the blocks, right? Like he's one of those
Mm-hmm.
guys, like we kind of talked about with Jeremiah Trotter. He used this maneuver, right? Like he's going to have to slip blocks, right? He's either going to have to beat you over the top or he's going to have to slip them, right? And go underneath the blocks. But I don't know if Georgia puts him in the best position, because when you're playing, right, like when you're playing Mike linebacker and it's just those inside zone runs or those just direct power, right? Like there's not a lot of opportunities to slip blocks because those offensive linemen are not in space, right? You're not allowing for gaps to open up for you to slip them. You know what I'm saying? Like it's different if you could be the strong side linebacker, right, on the outside zone play, but because those linemen are taking steps, right, and all of them are kind of getting separated, it's giving you more space to slip under a block or to quickly fight over it and make a play. So I watched him and I'm like, he's not a bad player. Like I'm like, okay, I see it, I like him, but I do think he's out of position. I don't think he's a Mike back on the next level, just in the NFL.
No, he's not. I'm not gonna lie to you, Keith, because you know what I texted you last night about. I honestly think that he might be. It could be a conversation about moving him backwards, like into like kind of a safety role. You know what I mean? To where he can play, because to me his best ball is when he's in space.
Yeah,
In coverage, he's good.
and this is a LSU name, right? But this is a guy that still had a couple good years in the right situation, and that was Deion Jones. I remember Deion Jones with the
Yeah,
Atlanta Falcons,
the Falcons.
and the reason I brought that up was because not just LSU guy, but because I don't know if people remember about Deion Jones' career at LSU, right? Like we ran a different defense, and he was not like a premier player, right? But then I think we got a new defensive coordinator, switched some things around. He moved to the edge and he took off, right? And then when he got to the Atlanta Falcons, he played more weak side linebacker, and it was like, I'm cool here. Like I could do this. You know what I'm saying? Like this is where I thrive at. And I thought of Smael Mondon, because of that situation. Like maybe if he moves to the perimeter, this will be where he's best at.
No, I like that name pull because Dion he was a baller for the Falcons for a while. While
Yeah,
he was
he did
there.
some
You
years
know what I
until
mean?
injuries, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's NFL
Injuries
stuff,
cut
but you
it
still
short.
got high level productive play from him. So I'm
Cover
kind of big
skills,
in.
blitzing, run defense. Like he was able to really make an impact, and I like that comparison for Small Mondon. I definitely think he's somebody that like I said, you put him in space, you put him in the right position where he's not tasked to take on blocks and stack and shed and be more physical than his frame will allow him to be, allow him to play within his body. And I think if you put him in that position as an outside linebacker, whether it's 4-3, kind of weak side, he's chasing backside runs and not being the play side defender so much on strong side, I think you can get the best out of this young man.
I agree, DP. I agree. But look, man, we're gonna wrap up that segment, right? The tier 2 linebackers from our scouting notebook. So you know we're about to head into, man. We're about to head into those sleeper linebackers. And like I say, stay tuned because this last year, heading into the season, right? Or even to the draft season, I don't think anybody had Jack Campbell pegged as a top 2 round guy, right? And he went in the first round last year. And there's just so many different names. Chad Muma, I'm thinking about, right? Like Devin Lloyd was kind of a buzzy name, couple names from the draft previous. So there's always linebackers emerging. So it's a must that we cover these guys. So man, make sure y'all stay tuned. Coming up next, man, we're going through those sleeper linebackers. We know that's DP's favorite segment / intro, man. So we're gonna jump into those guys and rattle off some names, a couple guys to keep on y'all radar that if they have big years, you can see their stock skyrocket over the season.
Time to wake up, family. The alarm clock is going off, and instead of numbers, you're seeing linebackers come across the face of it. And I'm gonna tell you right now, guys, a linebacker, Keith, I felt like all the linebackers were literally in my region. Like I really felt like that was the case because I forgot about Michigan. Junior
Colson.
Colson. Let me. I watched this kid, and I'm like, all right, he's like, I think he's listed at like 6'2", 6'3", about 235 somewhere in there, and nice dense frame, strong build. Guy could do a little bit of everything, man. Run defense and attacking the line of scrimmage. And what I really like is, everybody, because trust me, not even some defensive ends ain't built like this to be able to take on pulling guards. There are lead blocking in power run games on counters, traps, stuff like that. And you're talking about same foot, same shoulder, driving your shoulder into the chest plate of that interior offensive lineman, or even just using your hands and your power to shock and shed them and stonewall these guys who are moving at full speed to try and take your head off and open up a running lane for that running back. He does a good job with that. Being able to scrape across and get to the outside runs, but also as a spot dropper in zone, he does a good job getting to his areas, keeping the head on the swivel, reading and diagnosing what's going on around him, and getting to his landmarks, man. So I just kind of watched this kid, and I was like, okay, so Michigan got more. This defense they got some NFL players.
Yeah, no, and I'll say this I wouldn't even categorize him as a sleeper, right? Like this
No,
is
he shouldn't be.
He's a tier 2 emerging guy. Just not anybody's talking about him at this point, but I wouldn't be surprised this guy, you know what I'm saying, was a fringe day 1, early day 2, just because like you said, everything that he offers, especially the versatility part, because I even think what you said with the length, he's somebody you can walk down on the edge, right? Like walk down on the edge and just let him get a couple pass rush reps, right? Like just get there and see what he can do. But like you said, the physicality is there, the athleticism is there, the length is there, so he checks majority of the boxes. So I'm expecting him to play better, be a leader of this defense next year, and he's probably gonna be one of the more highlighted names. The DP keeping this theme going, kind of under the radar linebackers. I don't even know if he went under the radar, right? Because it was a big time transfer. Oregon State's Omar Speights, right? He went to and transferred to the LSU Tigers. I've watched him. I didn't mention him in a tier 2, and I don't know if you got eyes on him, DP, but it's just been a matter of I'm having a tough time gauging him. And when I'm saying that is that there are some things that I really like, right? Like he's I don't want to say a thickly dense built, but he has a good build to him, right? Like he has a
Yeah.
good lower half. He's not just this like short, stubby guy, but he has a thick lower half, which serves as a good base for power, right? Sideline to sideline speed, I can see that, right? And I'm not saying that he's a blazer, but when if it's a toss play, like, and he has to get on his high horse, he can get there. You know what I'm saying? And so I appreciate that. Now the question would be is just him keening diagnosing quickly, right? Like sometimes I think he allows offensive linemen to climb up to him, but he has a natural ability to make plays, and that's what he did at Oregon State, right? Like he just was always around the football. So that's why I say like this is a sleeper guy just from the perspective of if he can make enough plays and be considered a playmaker at the linebacker position, it, like I said, the stock is through the roof, right? And what teams may value in him. And we've seen teams in the past, right, value playmaking ability versus, okay, this guy is just a run stopping linebacker, right? And I think Omar has the ability to develop that trait, right? But I had a tough time gauging him.
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of. I didn't get a chance to do a deep dive, but everything you said I agree with. I saw some physicality with him in terms of as a tackler. He was able to bring some juice as a tackler as well. And like I said, the athleticism or sideline to sideline speed, it's not overwhelming, but it's good enough to get on. Like you said, get on that high horse and get out there to make his presence felt, to try and cut off, either string the play outside or make the running back try to cut back inside to where the majority of the defenders for his defense are, and kind of help rally to the ball. Keep those outside runs to a minimum gainage. I definitely want to see more from him in terms of in terms of dropping off in coverage. And I think I can't remember what he's listed at, but I think that I would like to see him just kind of blitz. I want to see how LSU uses. I want to see if they use him differently than Oregon State, because that could give us a better picture.
Yeah, and that's what I'm kind of waiting to see too, right? Like how does LSU use him, and like where does he play, right? Like this a guy, because they still have, and it's not to get into LSU conversation, but they still have Harold Perkins, right? Or they kicking Harold Perkins down, and then Omar Speights is going to play straight stack backer. You know what I'm saying? They have Greg Penn, right? Greg Penn III, who's another starter for them. So it's a lot of different things, a lot of different positions he could play, but I'm interested to see where he aligns, and then how does that suit his natural skill sets and abilities as a player.
Nah, for sure. And then I got two names that I'm gonna close it up with on my end. Number one is kind of it's just a weird situation. Eric Gentry over at USC. He's listed at 6'6", 200 pounds. And when I turn on the tape, I'm like, is that Victor Wembanyama out there? Like, bro, he is small. I was like, he's skinny, he's high cut, high hipped. He's got really long arms, man. He's legit 6'6", and you see that play to his advantage when they drop him off as like that put him at that middle linebacker. He's like that deep middle drop, especially in those third and longs. He's able to drop back, and it's like hard to get passes over. I remember listening to Caleb Williams talk about him, I think after practice one day. He was like, yeah, like with Eric, when he's out there, man, it's really difficult to layer passes over the top of him because he is already 6'6", and his wingspan might be 6'9", 6'10". So then he is able to, when he goes to leap up and make a play on the ball, he could deflect passes and things like that. But man, like handling the run game, like he doesn't tackle head on. Like he's not, his build is not going to allow him to just, sit on the balls of his feet and recoil through the hips and drive into ball carriers. No, he's going after ankles every single time. Now he's got that long wingspan, so it's like having a longer neck.
You're saying 6'6". Is he a edge guy or is he a linebacker?
Yeah, man, stack backer.
Oh, okay.
It's weird. It looks so weird out there, bro.
Yeah,
I was like,
I thought you were describing an edge guy. Okay,
he's legit. He cannot play on the edge with his build. Like it's so. I'm so confused. I don't know. Like I was perplexed and conflicted about him because I'm like, what is the path for success for him as a prospect? Because he's 6'6", 220. Like, I feel like he moves good. When he has to open up that stride, he can go, you know what I mean, and get on that high horse. But I'm just like, all right, like, I can't walk him down to sandbacker. They play him a little bit in the overhang.
So I don't think he can play edge? I mean, you don't think
he would have to bulk up, like, legit. He would have to legit bulk up. Like I'd say 240 and I'm talking not just like weight. He needs to get mass. He's extremely skinny. And it's like skinny up top and his lower half, legs, calves, everything. Everything's skinny. And I'm just like, this is one lean kid. He's a lot leaner than this small Mondon who we talked about. And no. So just with Eric Gidry, I'm just gonna declare this right now. I'm a little out on him as a prospect. I don't really know what to do with him. But I want to give a quick shout out to Oklahoma's linebacker, Danny Stutsman, 6'4", 238, 240. I think he's an adequate athlete, similar to like that Jack Campbell type of mold, you know what I mean? And that Tommy Eichenberg's, where he's a spot dropper in coverage. They blitz him. He did have like over 102 tackles, but he also had double-digit missed tackles as well. So you want to see him play a little bit more under control. Not because you've seen the guys get in the backfield, they get a little antsy, they get a little too aggressive, and they miss. They whiff on the tackle. So you want to see him do that. But he to me, it looks like his range is like that kind of like that Jack Campbellish, where it's like hash the sideline type of range. Like it's good, it's not great. And I think he's a guy that you probably put as your inside middle linebacker and let him ball. He could play some strong side, I think, as well. But he's a solid guy. He's a guy that no one really I do not hear his name. People don't talk about him. But I think this year, second year in Brent Venables' defense, I think Venables is going to put this young man in positions. As we know, he does a great job of putting his players in the right position. I think Venables is going to put him in position to really excel and to thrive. And this is a young man that has the physical build and skill set that you look for in the NFL linebacker for sure.
Okay, cool. Well, ADP, that wraps up this episode, man. Talking about scouting notebook, going through the linebackers. And linebackers is always a fun position, especially as talent evaluators, because there's always guys that emerge throughout the season, right? And guys that go high. So I'm excited for the guys that we have, the slate of guys that we already identified as ballers. But then there's probably going to be another 10 guys to enter this chat or emerge as guys that can play high level football at the linebacker position as NFL draft prospects. So man, I think that was a good show. Tomorrow, what are we going through? We want to do corners or you want to do
corners,
safety?
Baby? We gotta go see if there's some islands out there.
So tomorrow, man, y'all make sure y'all tap in with us, man. We're continuing the scouting notebook, introducing you guys to the 2024 NFL draft prospects via our scouting notebook over here at the NFL draft podcast. And we're going to get into cornerbacks tomorrow.
For sure. We're going to talk about those cornerbacks and have a great time doing so. Guys, go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts to get the latest episode as soon as it's available. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every single day, Monday through Friday, being our family, but our every single dayers, man. We love and appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for tapping in and drop in the comments. Who are some of the linebackers that you've watched that you want to talk about? Is linebacker on your team we didn't mention? I know there's a couple in my region I did not get to, but y'all be giving us a little slack on YouTube or hitting me up in the inbox like, hey, man, you ain't talk about this player. Hey, remember, guys, it's a lot of prospects. So, listen, there's no shade to nobody. But in turn, like I said, tomorrow we're talking corners. And in terms of Twitter, you can find and follow Keith Sanchez at The Talent Code, me, Damian Parson, DP_NFL. Come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.